person actually contacted us to see if we would take her, and we were happy to take her because what we see when we see this lamb is we see Sophie, and she is amazing. And so whatever Sophie needs, Sophie will get. She's trying to make a little bed with her little foot. Sophie, you don't want to go to bed. You're on camera. So Sophie was taken immediately to Cornell, to the Nemo Farm Animal Hospital at Cornell University, so a large animal hospital. And they were able to do radiographs of her legs and see what was going on. And in all reality, it's very fixable. And that's the thing that I always find so funny. We've taken in, I mean, so many animals. Clarabelle's a great example of an animal that, I think it was something like 4 vets in Pennsylvania had said to put her down because it wasn't worth treating her. And it was a little girl that had rescued her, and we took her in, and she didn't even have to be hospitalized. It was just a matter of like trimming her feet aggressively and continuing to trim her feet and changing her diet and doing some of the most basic things that over like the past 3 decades we know what to do. So many animals are put down needlessly because there's really nothing wrong with them except if you're trying to make a profit from them. And thankfully, that is not our goal. So Sophie is here, and let me go get her, and we're going to take her out in the grass. Sophie, you want to go in the grass? You want to meet the turkeys? She weighs nothing. There is no strain here. My dog weighs this much. Say my dog, Luke. Say hi. Say hi. I'm Sophie. Hi, Sophie. Come on. Let's go. Sam, you got to come out from the background up the gate. This is Sam, everyone. Sam asks all the valuable questions. Every time you ask a question, it's Sam who's asking me. She doesn't open gates well, but other than that, you could ask her a question about how to open that gate. Come here. Let's go look at the grass together. Oh my goodness. This is Cecilia. Oh my goodness, look. What do you think? You want to come out here? What do you think, little Sophie? She's like, first of all, these are the funniest looking sheep I've ever seen. That's number 1. She's going to go.
Tell us about what her treatment regimen's going to look like.
Well, she has to have her splints changed every couple days, or if they shift, or if they get wet, or if anything happens, if they get too dirty, we will change those splints whenever they need to be changed, but it's every few days. And we're trying to keep her legs straightened out. And actually, I think we're taking them off at night, so just ignore me. We're taking off the splints at night, so we're putting them on every day. And that's just to keep her legs straightened out so she can walk around, and at night then she can sleep. So she won't have to have them on at night. She's going to stay at the Melrose Hospital for right now, so she'll be at the Melrose Hospital at night. What's the matter? Ma. I really wish we had 2 lambs right now, because actually, I've said it a million times, lambs are flock animals. She's probably going to want to turn into a turkey right now. This is exactly what happened when we got Benedict and Chucky in here. They were like, they became friends with the turkeys because they're flock animals, so they just became a turkey flock. These turkeys, however, seem a little startled by the new resident. Anyway, so she's on antibiotics right now for her pneumonia. So she will be given antibiotic shots. They are not an everyday shot, which is good for us. A lot of the treatments that you use, especially on ruminants, you don't use oral antibiotics. Oral antibiotics can really mess up the flora of the rumen, so almost all of their antibiotic injections and antibiotic treatments, are injectable.
Hey, Sophie, what's the matter? Do you like the chickens? Sophie?
For people who are coming in a little bit late, can you just recap where she came from and how we got her here?
Yeah, Sophie is from a local farm, and she had tendon issues. And because of her leg issues and the fact that she's really, really small, she's about 6 months old. She should be a lot bigger. When an animal can't walk or can't get around, the treatment that's required is time-consuming. It could require some kind of like medical expense. So most people that are raising, especially lambs, to make a profit, are not going to put that in. Are not going to put the money into taking care of her. So she was given to someone else who was having a really hard time with her legs as well, and so that she gave her to us. And so what we did was we had the legs radiographed so we could see if there was anything broken. It's mostly tendon issues. Are you selenium deficient? She has selenium vitamin E deficiency. She definitely has pneumonia as well, so she's being treated for pneumonia. So all of the things that are happening to her are going to be happening now here on the farm. She's not going to be at Cornell. That was just really to get a baseline to see where we were at with her and make sure her legs weren't worse than we thought they were. They did look very typical for lambs that have, like problems with the tendons. Trying to think of some of the ones. We've had a lot of sheep that were born with that. Cindy and Lori, both of them had bad tendons when they were born, but we splinted them right away, and we had also given them vitamin E and selenium shots, which we give every lamb when they're born. So just some minor things that don't happen can then lead to something that's a lot bigger down the line. But again, if your value is the amount of money you're worth once you're sold, a lot of money doesn't go into you when you're not going to be sold, like before you're sold.
Will she need physical therapy to help her walk again?
She will. Yes, she's going to need physical therapy. At this point, we don't know. We're going to try to do the splints for a couple of weeks and see if that's enough. There may also have to be a surgery. So a lot of times they can release a tendon, so they can do a surgery that actually loosens up the tendon, so she'll be able to walk better. When we got her, she was on her knees. Her legs are very loose feeling, but she's definitely atrophied, and her whole body under that wool is emaciated, so she's really way too thin. So she's going to put on weight and put on muscle, and at the same time, hopefully learn to use those legs again.
So people will be able to see her in this pasture?
I hope so, unless something works out that she's just so rough on the turkeys, which it doesn't look like that's going to be the case. Yeah, and it's funny because they were so used to Benedict and Chucky, so I think the turkeys are going to warm right up to her. It's just going to be a matter of probably a few days. Yeah, and this is a great pasture. There's lots of grass. She'll have the willow tree. Of course, all she's doing is eating straw that has zero nutritional value. Maybe that's why you're thin, Sophie. Maybe that's why you're thin. I'm going to take her out a little further in the grass. Let's see if we can get her to eat grass, because that's what she's supposed to eat. Come on, Soph. Sophie, hi. Hello. Oh my goodness, you're so sick. Hi, everybody. Come on, let's go right here. When the grass is always greener. What do you think? Yay.
Susie, Kelly wants to know what Weechie thinks of little Sophie.
Weechie has not really met Sophie yet. Like, this is Sophie's first moments, very first moments here in this pasture. So everybody's just going to get ready to meet her. I'm going to see if I can get the turkeys to come over. We can be one big happy family of grazers. Because the turkeys actually like the grass too.
Wendy wants to know what she might eat besides grass, like if lambs enjoy certain fruits.
We try not to overdo anything that's not in their natural diet. So all of our animals are on grass or on hay. I think they love lots of things. They really do, but lots of things, just like all the things I love, like potato chips and French fries, are not necessarily the best thing for her, and it's not the best thing for her rumen. So what she will get will be grass, and she will get some grain because she does need to put on some weight, but it will be a grain that's designed for lambs. We really don't want to do anything that could mess up her rumen at this point because she already has health issues. And she's really loving this grass, I want to point out. Grass is fattening. I know nobody believes me, but have you seen our sheep? Our sheep are chunky. Our sheep are chunky. And they're chunky on just grass and hay. Nobody gets grain. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. Lisa wants to know how much Sophie currently weighs compared to how much she should weigh at this age.
Well, Sophie is like under 20 pounds, which is really low. I'm not a fan of under 20 pounds. So to give you some perspective, big giant Hazelton was born, and she's a different breed than Hazelton, but Hazelton was born at 13 pounds. So she's very small. So even with like a smaller breed, a 6-month-old should weigh like closer to like 30 to 40 pounds at least, maybe even more, depending on the breed. And it's hard because they're in wool, but you can feel like every rib, you can feel every bone in her body. So underneath all this, she's thin. And a lot of that is because, not because, I don't think there's anything else like that's really clinically wrong with her. I think the main thing is she was probably having a hard time competing for food if she's with other animals because of her legs. So one of the other things to do is right now, while she's small, help her gain weight by having her in one of the luscious pastures we have. She's going to do a lot better when she's here.
Linda's asking if she came from a breeder farmer and if Sophie's mother is okay.
We don't know anything about Sophie's mother, and all I know is she went from one farm to another farm, so the mother wasn't actually at the second farm. And just so you're aware, most of the sheep that we get, when we do a big sheep rescue, it's almost all mothers, and either mothers and babies, or mothers who are pregnant with babies, or just the mothers, because lamb is the number one, industry that these guys would be at. So I'm not really sure. I don't have the background on her farm. You don't have the background on your farm. This is her farm now. I have the background on here, and that's all that matters, right?
So what kind of breed is she?
I don't know. And I actually think I'm really good at this, but I think her size is throwing me off. She does remind me a whole lot of Amber, who's a very small sheep. Amber is much, much smaller. But when we got Amber, she was right around the same age as this girl, and Amber weighed, I think, like 50 pounds. So we have a big weight discrepancy, but they're similar in their wool and their face. Yeah, so I think they're probably the same breed. They're a smaller breed. We'll have to look into it. I have so many books on sheep breeds. It's not even funny, because sheep are my favorite beings on the planet. Sorry, turkeys. These are my people. Here, let's go over here and look.
Let's go look this way. Go this way so people can see your cuteness while you eat.
Yeah, I don't think we're ever going to see your face again. Go ahead.
We had a question come up before to diverge a little bit from sheep talk about any updates about the pigs in North Carolina.
Well, I think that I talked to so many people. A couple pigs have been rescued. The biggest problem is if you are legally bringing in an animal from North Carolina, because remember I had said, like, when we were in Iowa, we actually we were there for a month, because by law you can't bring them into this state. Like, you can't bring them into New York, you can't bring them into Pennsylvania, you can't bring them anywhere but in North Carolina without having a certificate of veterinary inspection. By doing so, you are risking every animal on your property, because they can by law come in and quarantine your facility. Lots of things can happen, because you really shouldn't do that. The other thing it does is, when we took in the Iowa pigs, they had some really bad diseases, including MRSA. So when we brought in pigs, they were isolated for almost a month, because they would have infected every animal on this property. They had to be tested for so many different diseases. A lot of them had big abscesses that had very antibiotic resistant pus in the abscesses. So it's not as simple as just running down and grabbing them and bringing them back. And you can make it that simple, but by doing so, you are risking every animal on your property. And it's dangerous. So, because the diseases, it's part of, we're teaching our conferences this weekend. So we're teaching the conference this weekend, which is called the Farm Animal Care Conference. And one of the things we go over is rescue and transport, and not bringing animals across state lines that have not been tested, and bringing them and putting them directly in with your own residents, because it is just so dangerous. Because so many things don't show up, and a lot of things you don't even have to test for. So when we bring anybody, including her, you can see she's not with sheep. She's not going to be with sheep. She's only going to be out here in this pasture, so she can run around and eat some grass. And we're always going to be around, so she's not going to just be out here whenever she wants to be. And she's already had a lot of blood work run. We've already tested her for CAE and CL. So we're already testing her for everything. She's had a little fecal test done. You're fine. You can poop wherever you want. So we make sure that even when the animal is coming from within state, that we follow all of those procedures. The good news is there's nothing that you have that you could give to the turkeys. She has nothing that is turkey spreadable because of her breed. So, I mean, her species. So she's not going to, anything that she does out here in the grass, she's not going to give to them. So they're not going to get any kind of worms from her, and vice versa, because they're species specific. So her issues, I wouldn't stick her in the sheep barn for other reasons. We want to see how she does for the next week or so, because something might come up. And you have a little bit of pneumonia. You do.
Lorraine was asking earlier, when do we think she'll be ready to join the rest of the sheep?
I want her to be a lot bigger, and I really want her legs to be a lot better, because what happens are the sheep run, and they'll start... Yeah, I know.
Oh, I see goats. You can talk to them.
The sheep run, like, full speed, and she would just get trampled. There's no way she could get out of the way fast enough. And we have 80 sheep in that main flock, and that's a lot of sheep for a little sheep to deal with. That's a lot. And the babies will be too rough on her, so she has a little bit of time. We do not put, like, little lambs into the sheep barn. We just don't. No, not unless they're with their moms. So unless she has a mom come in, we're not going to do it. The moms are very protective of the lambs. She's watching the goat. She definitely knows that That's one of the, kind of like your people. Not quite like your people, kind of like your people. I just stuck my hand in poop. Okay, that's part of my job, though. I know, it's terrible.
So do we spay animals that come in, and when will Sophie have spay surgery?
We are not spaying Sophie. We have not ever spayed any of our female ruminants, and there's a reason. It's a much more invasive surgery. We've been talking about possibly doing laparoscopic procedures, so if we end up doing that, that's what you will get, where they just remove the ovaries. It's a very invasive surgery, and after you do a full spay on an animal, the spay actually can herniate, and all these different things can happen because they open up the whole body wall. Ruminants have to have the surgery standing in most cases because they bloat. I don't know about her because she's so tiny, but most of the sheep that we get come in as adults, so we don't, because, and there's a couple reasons. A, all the males are neutered. You can't get pregnant without an unneutered male. Nope, no matter what anybody tells you. So they can't get pregnant because we don't have any males in the flock that aren't neutered. And the other thing is we haven't seen a lot of reproductive cancers. In the last couple years, however, we have seen a few. So we have been talking about as sheep come in, we might end up doing it. But right now, she definitely doesn't need a surgery. If she gets a surgery on her legs, that's an option that we might look into. But as a general rule, especially because they come in as adults, we don't do the spays unless there's something wrong, like there's some type of cancer or some fear of cancer, right? But the males are neutered. Go ahead, Lisa.
Lisa's asking for an update on how Falco's doing.
How what?
Falco.
Oh, I'm sorry, Lisa. I have a headache today. I do actually have a really bad headache. So if I seem crazy, there's a reason. So Falco is doing okay. It is one of the hardest things to look at. His surgical site, it looks like he was shot in the side. It's about this big. It has to stay open, and it's very deep because they removed that whole abscess, and they wanted to heal from the inside out. It was one of those surgeries where the risk was so incredibly high, but it was even higher if we didn't do the surgery. So there still is a chance that he'll have septicemia. Right now, he does not. Say he's on IV antibiotics and he's doing great. I ran into him when I was at the hospital. So Sophie thinks he's fine. He is okay. I don't want to say he's completely out of the woods because he's not. And until he's home, I don't think we're going to be comfortable saying that. But for right now, he is staying there because his wound management is so intense. Like, he really needs to be in a very sanitary environment, and we can't do that here right now, not for what he has. It's also nice to have somebody that understands like what granulation tissue he needs to get and what we should and shouldn't debride from him. It is such a tricky area because of where it's located that he's going to stay there until it's really started to heal a lot before we bring him home.
We had a follow-up question asking if we neuter all males regardless of species to prevent...
Again, a question that's tricky. So you should come to my care conference. We do not neuter the birds because the birds have internal testicles. We like to call them chesticles. They're underneath the ribs. So you have to actually open them up to take out the testicles. And what we have found, because we have done it, is the tissue almost always grows back. So you've just wasted a really big surgery. That's number one. Number two, it doesn't necessarily change anything with the aggression level, which was the main reason that we were doing it, because we were hoping we'd be able to take in a lot more roosters if we had a lot of roosters who were more docile. So we tried that. And there's a really good chance that they can bleed really badly into the chest. So some of them will die during that surgery. It's not a great... What's the matter? Oh, look, it's a flock of something. Holy, what the flock. So, it's not sheep, it's goats. Who are they? They hit me. I'm surrounded by birds. So we don't do the birds, but we take the eggs. So nobody here breeds, is the bottom line. So the reason behind the birds, again, is it's a very invasive surgery for them to be neutered, and we can take the eggs. So it's not like we don't know where those babies will be located. They will be inside those eggs. Correct me if I'm wrong. So we take the eggs for the birds. So all the birds' eggs are taken. If you notice, male turkeys don't live in with the female turkeys because they can't naturally reproduce anyway. And because the boys are so big, they actually hurt the females when they mount them. So we don't have males in with the females in the turkey area or with the Cornish crosses. Somebody's lonely. If anybody has an extra lamb out there, bring them on. Say, I need another lamb.
Wendy's asking if you can recap how long she'll be wearing her splints.
We're going to try it for 2 weeks and see what happens. She needs to build up muscle. She has zero muscle in those front legs. They are completely atrophied. So you need to build up muscle, which means you start walking, sister. So we will be working with her to try to help her build up her muscles. Maybe she'll run up there. Go up there and see them. See, I can't do it. I just can't do it. So she has to build up her muscle, and then we're going to reevaluate the legs. So this is going to take weeks and weeks and weeks of physical therapy, of splinting, of like just reevaluating to see if the legs are getting any better, if we have to try something else. We really want to avoid doing a surgical procedure, obviously, if we can. Who wants a surgery when you don't have to have one? Nobody. Nobody. And so you can hear her grinding her teeth. That's because she has pain with these legs and the splits being on. So this is also not easy on her. So we're going to definitely watch. I know. We have to definitely watch her pain as well. So she's on pain management right now. But I'm going to actually have them change the splints today a little bit just in case they're on wrong because she's doing a little tooth grinding. And that's a sign that they do feel like they're in, that's a sign of pain in a sheep, right? She's like, right now I'm chewing cud. Every once in a while, I grind my teeth. More, please? We got to fatten her up. We have to fatten her up. You got to build the muscle, lady. You definitely do. Oh, but back to the neutering question. So we neuter all of the males, the mammals. We do spay the pigs. Our female pigs are spayed. That's because they go into heat every 30 days. And they almost always get cancer between the ages of 5 and 7. They get a uterine cancer that really can do some damage. It leads to mammary cancer. There's all different things that happen. But you end up having to spay usually later in life. And if you're not quick enough and you don't recognize that they have health issues or they're getting cancer because some of it you don't know it's happening until it's happened, you can be too late. So we try to spay them, and again using a laparoscopic ovarectomy is what we do because pigs of all the animals have a pretty thin body cavity wall, so they almost always herniate. They're also growing so incredibly fast. So you're talking about an animal that weighs like 2 to 3 pounds when they're born, and they're usually about 250 pounds when they're 6 months. So that is rapid growth. So the sutures from doing a full spay actually can open up and they herniate, and that's really, really bad. So you have to have another surgery. She's backing up, which I think is really funny. I'm not moving forward. I'm just going to keep scooting over. Why are you backing up? You're not good at going forward yet. Yeah, so that's our spay and neuter. I think I covered just about everybody. But yeah, the males for the other species are neutered. We have done laparoscopic procedures on a couple of the cows, but part of the problem is the cows have to be standing up. It's a pretty significant surgery even then. The rumen is so big and it's kind of in the way of doing a laparoscopic procedure, or a full spay would be much, much worse. So you have to do the surgery standing with a nerve block. I would prefer not to do that unless we absolutely have to, right? There's a really good baby.
Even though we mostly have farm animals here, Amy is asking if we also have any cats at the sanctuary.
There are some cats here. Yes, we get lots of cats. We had 6 little kittens just a few weeks ago. We just had another cat that moved into the office. We don't want to keep every single cat. Clearly, that is not what we do. We're not a cat rescue, but we do have some resident cats. Some of them have lived here for about 12 or 13 years now. And yeah, a few live at the Melrose Hospital, so there's cats around. We also have 2 feral cats. One of them has been here for about 14 years, and he looks like he's about 14 years old. If you see the Explorer cams, you may see him. He's a yellow, really old-looking cat, and we trapped him like 14 years ago and neutered him, and he's never left. And then another cat joined him, who we also trapped and neutered and released back on the farm. We call him Black Goat, but he lives in the Wisconsin barn, so you might see them on the cameras. Wait, do you like cats? Say they're okay. I prefer grass.
So just for people who are coming in later, a few people are asking if you can recap what happened with her legs, and also do you think she'll be a candidate maybe for special needs sheep? Do we have special needs resident areas?
Yes and yes and yes. Okay, so I'm going to recap. So she came in unable to use her front legs. From a local farm. Her legs were very loose and limp, but she was knee walking and really having a hard time getting around. And what happens when they do that too is they start to get like urine scald, and they have problems with you get little sores on their knees and stuff because they're really not supposed to walk on that part of their leg. She was vitamin E and selenium deficient. She also definitely had problems with her tendons probably since she was born, and because they weren't dealt with, they just never got better. And she's about 6 months old, so she's really skinny and small. So we're trying to get some weight on her and help her develop muscle so she can get these legs back to being really strong. Her front legs are atrophied. So she's actually from a local farm who brought her to us. Yes, you are lovely. And it's great because she's been to Cornell. They did radiographs. We're working to try to figure out how to have her legs get better without doing any kind of major surgery, because that's not necessary if you don't have to do it. So right now she has splints on her legs, and we'll be doing physical therapy and making sure that these splints help her legs get straighter so she can walk normally. If it doesn't work, then we will try something else until we fix you. So from now on, she will be out here. Yes, I know, grass is delicious. She will be out here for a while because this is the best pasture for her to be in, because she's a brand new animal, so she can't be with our other resident animals right now. The turkeys are not going to get anything that she would spread, especially when she's going to the bathroom. She will not spread anything that would hurt the turkeys. So this is pretty much the ideal pasture. Yes, this is where Benedict used to live. And we do have a special needs sheep area, and that is where Benedict actually lives. So if there's something that doesn't get corrected, or she needs to be a special needs animal, we will cross that bridge when we come to it. It might be that if she's going to stay this small too, because we don't know enough about her. If she's going to stay really tiny, even the special needs sheep might not be the best place to go. So she may end up being here. We may have to find a friend for you. Nobody knows. Yeah, so the future is open, wide open for Sophie, wide open.
We have a few questions coming in from our Explore.org visitors.
Hi.
One of the questions actually is, how has Chucky been adjusting since Benedict's passing?
Chucky is adjusting. He's good. I can see him from my office, so I see him all the time. And I go out with him too in the evening. He is going outside all the time with Halbert and Darius. He's a little bit closer to Darius than he is to Halbert. He also is really good friends with Cash the sheep, who is one of our older sheep, who has a condition called ovine progressive pneumonia, so he has really bad legs. You might see him on the cameras. He's got the chest pillow thing on that's strapped around his chest because he's down so much that he gets sores on his chest. That's the sheep, not Chucky. And so Chucky has made friends with him and kind of sleeps beside him at night. But Chucky's doing okay. He's doing really well. I don't know, again, what the future holds with him. I think he'll be fine. We were actually talking about, and we'll have to wait now that she's here, but sometimes they can come out here at night. Sometimes we actually put the sheep from the pasture out here at night so they can mow the grass, because sheep love to eat the grass. And the goats are actually the reason that this tree is the way it is, because they can stand up and that's as far as they can eat, so they keep it nice and trim, the willow tree. It's at a perfect height. It's never all the way to the ground like most willows are. Yeah, so we'll see what happens with that. But Chucky's doing really well. And no, he's definitely not the same. I think that's going to be that way for a little while. I think he is a lot more loosened up than he was 2 weeks ago, though. He's much happier.
So somebody also the other day noticed that these turkey barn doors behind us were open at night, and there was a skunk that was wandering through. Can predators get to the birds at night?
No, because there's a secret. Okay, so the secret we have in the turkey barn. So turkeys are a bird that they don't roost because of their size. They cannot roost up. And birds roost up high, so they're safe. And one of the predators that birds are not safe from, if they can't roost, are the most common of all predators that people don't realize are predators, and that is rats. So rats are pretty normal to have on a farm. We actually don't have a lot of rats here because we're actually using a rat birth control, which is an awesome thing to use because we don't want them to breed, because rats are one of the #1 predators on a sanctuary grounds, because there's food around. We don't poison the rats, clearly, so that's not going to happen. So there's usually rats on farms. Most farmers do poison them, which is really bad because then owls can eat them, and it's not just bad for the rats, it's bad for everybody. So the bottom line is, because of that and because they can't roost, their sleep area is completely predator proof, and that includes from rats. So they have metal ceilings, they have metal under the floor, they have hardware cloth in all the windows, and their sleep area is completely disconnected from that area. So we walk them into another room at night, so they're 100% safe, and that is where they sleep. So that double door thing is only their daytime area anyway. So you guys don't get to see their sleep area. There's also roosts back there for the chickens. So all of the chickens from this barn also sleep in that area. Every barn that's on this property that has birds in it, there is a big whiteboard out that shows who's supposed to live there, and if they're not there when you're going to close, which they always are, we have to get a bunch of people to come out and try to find them, and we always do. So we know exactly who lives in the barns, and we do a head count every single night. So there's no way that somebody will get left outside and be, vulnerable to a predator.
So another Explore.org question we have. Yes. People have noticed that Carlton is now living with Milton and Sven and Howard. Are these guys on the main herd, or where are they living?
Okay, so we right now have 2 special needs herds, and one of them is where Bonnie lives, the little beautiful cow that lived out in the woods with the deer. So she lives with Howard and Milton and Sven and Alexander Beans, the 4 little boys. We moved them in with 3 cows that we took from a sanctuary that closed. So a sanctuary was being foreclosed on, and actually those animals were going to be sent to the sale. So they came to stay with us, and that's Sam. He's the big giant Holstein. Sprout, who's black with like white moons around his eyes, and really kind of like a taupe colored girl named Grayson. She's also from there. And on top of that, we brought down 2 of our cows because one of them was having foot problems. So she wanted to move down. Well, she didn't want to, but she didn't want to move without her sister. So Gidget and Mary Lou moved down, and Blue has been down there because his legs are bad. So we have a double special needs herd. Once we have the barn completed, where the Orland cows are going to go, the entire barn that you see down there is going to just be special needs. So they're going to take over that whole barn. So what happened with Carlton, getting to Carlton, is Carlton has never, ever, ever found a friend in that herd. So he doesn't have somebody he hangs out with all the time. Like Gary has Wesley, and Frank has everybody. Frank's like friends with Sean Denis and everybody else. Like they all have somebody. He's friends with Dennis. For whatever reason, Carlton doesn't have a friend. And so he was really kind of getting picked on by Gary and Wesley. He was getting bullied, and so he actually got, it's one of the weirdest things, so he got warts, and nobody else got warts, and his stress level is really high. When they're stressed, even emotional stress, their immune system goes down. So he just started like hanging out at the barn. He got warts, so we got worried that he was getting sick. And I think it's all based on the fact that he was getting picked on and he didn't have any really good friends. But he did become very obsessed with Bonnie and that group. So he kept like just hanging out right by their pen. So we decided to try him in there, and he's much, much happier. He's still kind of alone. He doesn't seem to have like one exclusive friend yet, like everybody else seems to have. But I think that he'll get one, and I'm hoping it's one of the calves because they're all really sweet. Milton doesn't have a really like significant best buddy yet either, so maybe when Milton gets a little bit bigger.
Janet's asking how Bonnie's doing overall and if she's gotten adjusted to her new space.
Bonnie's doing great. Bonnie actually has gotten really close with the older girl that we just took in. She's like 14 years old, and her name is Grayson. She spends a whole lot of time with Grayson right now. You've always, if you're watching Explore 2, you've probably heard some crazy guttural mooing sounds down there. It's because Grayson does not know the main herd, so every time the main herd comes down, she makes these vocalizations, which means that she's mad, and she scuffs dirt on herself. And by doing that, she's also making Trisha do the same thing. So it's like this crazy bunch of sounds that are happening down there now as everybody's adjusting to everybody else. But Bonnie is fantastic. She really, really loves being in a herd, so we're very excited about that.
Before we head out, we had one more question about Sophie, that since she has the splints on her legs, how can she lay down?
We take them off at night. So she can lay down, and she can lay down with them. She lays down like this when she puts them in front of her, which, by the way, some sheep lay like that, so that's okay. So you look really cute when you lay like that. Yeah, but she's still getting used to even walking in them. She's able to stand up on her own, and she's able to lay down on her own, but she hasn't made a lot of like active steps, so we're going to be working on that this week. And you'll be able to see her for a while on the Explore cams, which will be really nice. Yeah, I think it's going to be really nice to have her, right? Is it going to be nice to have you? Let's eat some more grass.
And we did have one last question come in.
All right, we're ready.
Lucy's asking how Mouse Pig is doing.
Mouse Pig is awesome. So Mouse lives with a bodyguard named Pickles. Mouse has a best friend named Pickles, who's not, you've probably met Pickles over the years, but Pickles is a very assertive pig who doesn't like when people go near Mouse. So if you go in with Mouse, Pickles will chase you away. and try to bite you. So Pickles and Mouse are not on the main tours. But Pickles actually goes outside every day, and with Mouse, and they go out and they graze, and they go in the mud, and they do all the normal things that pigs do. We still have not gotten a perfect prosthetic, and it's really sad. I think a lot of times when we see these, like, you know, these prosthetic stories, that's why we like to keep up with people, because if these splints don't work, we'll go to something else, and we'll go to something else. Most of the stories that I've seen where you're like, oh, these animals got prosthetics and everything is great, they don't always last on farm animals. So it's really good to kind of follow up. So I'm glad people ask, because right now we still haven't gotten the perfect prosthetic. Because I think when people see them, then they're like, oh, pigs can get prosthetic limbs and it's great. And it doesn't always work. So the problem with Mouse is Mouse still, oh, get those legs under you. You can do it. Mouse still hasn't learned to actually use the back leg. He still wants to swing it out this way, and none of the legs stay on because of the way the stump is. So we continue to try, and right now the one he is working okay, but it's not working enough to have it on throughout the day. So we're still working, and we'll keep working on it. But the good news is he does really, really well because he's not a big pig. The breed of pig he is, he's not going to get over 300 pounds. He's much, much smaller. He's not an industrial pig. So he's not so bad. He does really well. His other legs aren't breaking down. He goes outside every day. So yeah, he's fantastic. If he was a commercial sized pig, like one of the industrial pigs, he would never be able to function on those 3 legs, and this would have not worked. So it really is all about the fact that he is so small that we were able to have him be okay without the prosthetic. Okay? What do you think, lady? I think it's great. So please tune in and watch Sophie. Watch Sophie grow and get her legs strong, and hopefully someday you'll get to see her on the sheep cam. That's the goal. Always want to be on the sheep cam. It's the most popular camera we have. Although this one might be if you're out here. Let me know. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next week. Who knows who will be here? You never know. Wait, we weren't expecting you. You really need to. Come on, come with me.